some Republicans are openly fretting they might lose the House to Democrats. How much of a fight might they have on their hands? Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren is here to answer that. But first, the plan itself with CNN's Phil Mattingly on Capitol Hill.
For the Republican Party, a moment of political and policy urgency.
This is it, America. This is our opportunity to make tax reform a reality and deliver the most transformational tax cuts in a generation.
A wide-ranging overhaul of the U.S. tax code, the top remaining Republican legislative goal of the year, with no shortage of potential roadblocks ahead.
You've been blunt throughout. This isn't easy. There's a reason it hasn't been done in 31 years.
Yeah.
Speaker Paul Ryan, in an interview with CNN, making a clear-cut guarantee.
Can you guarantee that all middle-class taxpayers will see a tax cut? I know what your models
That's the entire purpose of this. This tax bill gives average family of four about a $1,200 tax cut. I think that's going to be helping people who are living paycheck to paycheck. So absolutely, I think this is a game changer for our economy.
A 429-page tax overhaul, the product of weeks of intense negotiations, now public and drawing support from the president.
It's yours. It's yours.
Really believe we'll have it done before Christmas. I consider that to be one of the great Christmas presents.
It's a bill that dramatically cuts the corporate and small business tax rates, nearly doubles the standard deduction, increases the child tax credit, and collapses the number of individual tax brackets from 7 to 4. But it's also rife with potential problem areas. Northeastern Republicans already staging a mini revolt over a repeal of the state and local tax deduction for income. And powerful interest groups like realtors and home builders vowing to oppose the bill over its lack of new home buying credit and a $500,000 cap on the mortgage interest rate deduction for new home purchases. All as Democrats, many of whom pledged to oppose the bill before it was even released, attacked the proposal for favoring corporate cuts over relief for everyday Americans.
Big, wealthy corporations count far more than kids in this bill.
But Republicans are holding firm, driven by political imperative. The leaders hope will eventually, somehow,
We're doing it.
allow them to achieve a once-in-a-generation goal.
We're going to get this done. Why? Because the American people deserve this.
And Jake, you referenced the speed with which they're moving. To put that into context here, they plan on moving this through committee next week. The House floor the week after that. The Senate will be moving it through their committees concurrently on that week. And as you noted, they want this done, at least from each chamber, by Thanksgiving, signed into law by Christmas. That's speed that you just simply can't imagine for major legislation like this. But why are they moving it this quickly? One senior GOP aide put it like this: the longer we leave this out there, it's just going to get whacked. Hell, he said, we'll get whacked. They understand this is complicated, this is rife with potential problems, and that's why they're going to try and move as fast as possible, Jake.
Phil Mattingly on Capitol Hill for us. Thanks so much. Joining me now is Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts. She serves on the Banking Committee in the Senate. Senator Warren, thanks for being here. So, Speaker Ryan, you heard him say $1,200 in savings a year for the average family of four. He's also saying middle-income folks will that will allow them to pay for gas for a year, pay down debt, renovate their home, save for retirement. Now, I know you oppose the part of this bill that goes to wealthier Americans and corporate America, but could you support the part that will help middle-income Americans?
So, look, Jake, if they really wanted to sit down and write a tax proposal that would help middle-income families, I would be all on this. For 20 years now, I've been fighting for help for median-income families, for middle-class families, for working families, for paycheck-to-paycheck families. But that's not what this is about. This is a tax proposal that raises taxes on some people who are middle class, and what it mostly does is the middle class part is to distract attention from the fact that they're planning to give away $2 trillion in tax giveaways to a handful of giant corporations. Number one on the list, you know who's going to make the most money out of this? It's projected to be Wells Fargo. You remember Wells Fargo, the group that the bank that cheated its customers by opening fake accounts for them. The next group that's going to make out big are going to be foreign investors, wealthy foreign investors who are going to walk away with about $700 billion in tax benefits. And the third big group, multinational corporations who will be given bonuses in effect for building their factories, for putting their jobs everywhere except America. Let's face it, this is a tax proposal that is just a payoff to rich donors to the Republican Party. What we need is something that really works for middle-class families, and this isn't it.
Well, Republicans argue that it's geared towards the middle class because it maintains maximum 401k contributions. It nearly doubles the standard deduction. There's a new family tax credit. It caps the mortgage deduction at $500,000. Aren't those all things good for middle Americans that you could get behind?
But here's the problem, Jake. When they give away $2 trillion to giant corporations, they're going to blow a hole in the debt. And the minute they blow a hole in the debt, the Republicans are going to come back to the American people and say, gee, so sorry, debt really jumped. What's going to happen now is we got to cut Medicare, and we got to cut Medicaid, and we got to cut this, and we got to cut that. Oh, and we got to cut infrastructure. Look, if the Republicans really think that they've got $2 trillion to spend, I've got some ideas on how to spend it. How about we really put that money into infrastructure investment that will create good jobs right here in America right now? Or how about if we just forgive the outstanding student loan debt and let those young people get out there and start their businesses and keep working? Or how about if we just write a check for $17,000 to every family in America that makes less than $200,000? That's what you could do with the $2 trillion that the Republicans are shoveling out the door to giant corporations. This isn't about trying to help the middle class. This is about trying to help the big corporate donors to the Republican Party and then put a pretty face on it.
Do you disagree with the notion that a lot of this corporate tax reduction will not only help big corporations, it will also help smaller corporations and cause economic growth that could help middle-class Americans in terms of jobs, in terms of wages?
So let's look at the part about jobs and wages. This has been the big Republican lie for decades now. They have argued that, hey, if we just cut taxes for those at the top, somehow it's going to trickle down and benefit everybody else. And the reality is, it just isn't true. When the George W. Bush tax cuts went through in the early 2000s, corporations made out great. And what happened to hardworking families? Flat wages. When the British cut taxes, cut the corporate tax rate by 11 points, what happened to wages? They actually went down. Look, this is a point in America when corporations are making record profits. They have cash. They have plenty of money. If they wanted to make investments here in America, in jobs here in America, they could do it. The idea that if we just give them a couple of $1 trillion more of taxpayer money, that somehow they're going to make everybody else rich, it is an insult to hardworking middle-class families. That argument is so wrong.
I want to ask you one other question, Senator. We learned today from former Democratic National Committee Chairwoman Donna Brazile that the Clinton campaign, in her view, did rig the presidential nominating process by entering into an agreement to control day-to-day operations at the DNC. The Clinton campaign controlling the party's staffing, strategy, finances, communications, and that agreement was entered into in August 2015, a year before she defeated Senator Bernie Sanders. This must shock you.
Look, this is a real problem. But what we've got to do as Democrats now is we've got to hold this party accountable. When Tom Perez was first elected chair of the DNC, the very first conversation I had with him is to say, you have got to put together a Democratic Party in which everybody can have confidence that the party is working for Democrats rather than Democrats are working for the party. And he's being tested now. This is a test for Tom Perez. And either he's going to succeed by bringing Bernie Sanders and Bernie Sanders representatives into this process, and they're going to say it's fair, it works, we all believe it, or he's going to fail. And I very much hope he succeeds. I hope for Democrats everywhere. I hope for Bernie and for all of Bernie's supporters that he's going to succeed. Very
quickly, Senator, do you agree with the notion that it was rigged?
Yes.
All right. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, thank you so much. Appreciate your time, Senator.